The sound of metal scraping against metal pierced the air like a scream. Marcus froze, his heart sinking as he watched his rusty sedan's bumper drag across the shiny black Tesla. In that moment, with rain soaking through his threadbare jacket and his 6-year-old daughter Emma waiting in the car, he made a decision that would change their lives forever, though not in the way he could have possibly imagined. If you've ever believed that one small act of honesty can transform your destiny, this story will touch your heart. Like and subscribe to see more real-life stories that remind us how unexpected kindness can appear when we need it most. Marcus Walsh hadn't always struggled to make ends meet. 3 years ago, he had a stable job at an accounting firm, a modest but comfortable home, and a loving wife. They weren't wealthy, but they were happy. Then came the diagnosis that shattered everything. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia, the words that rewrote Emma's childhood and left Marcus a widower at 32. The medical bills came first, then the funeral expenses. The grief made it impossible to focus at work, and eventually, his position was eliminated during company-wide layoffs. Now he worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at a warehouse and evening hours as a food delivery driver, just to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. The apartment was small, in a neighborhood he would never have chosen for his daughter, but it was all they could afford. That rainy Tuesday in November had already been particularly brutal. The warehouse manager had cut his hours, citing budget constraints. Emma had developed a cough that worried him sick, he couldn't afford another medical bill. And now, making a delivery in the upscale Oakwood district, he'd scratched someone's luxury car. Inside his beat-up sedan, Emma sat bundled in her pink coat, the one with patches at the elbows that he'd carefully sewn on himself. "Daddy, what happened?" she asked, her voice small and concerned. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just wait here a minute." Marcus stepped out into the rain again, examining the damage. The scratch wasn't catastrophic, but it was noticeable, a jagged line across the Tesla's rear bumper. He knew the repair would cost hundreds, maybe thousands. Money he simply didn't have. For a brief moment, he considered driving away. No one had seen it happen. The delivery was already late, and this detour would cost him tips he desperately needed. But then he thought of Emma watching him through the window, and the values he was trying to teach her despite their circumstances. With trembling hands, he pulled out the only paper he could find, a crumpled receipt, and the stub of a pencil from his glove compartment. He wrote, "I accidentally scratched your car. I can't afford to pay for repairs right now, but I promise I will. Here's my number. I'm so sorry." He added his phone number, tucked the note under the windshield wiper, and hurried back to his car, soaked to the skin. What Marcus didn't know was that from the window of the high-rise office building across the street, someone had witnessed everything. Alexander Chen, CEO of Horizon Innovations, had been working late, as usual. At 45, he had built his tech company from nothing into a billion-dollar enterprise. His corner office offered a panoramic view of the city, including the parking lot where Marcus had left his note. Something about the man's defeated posture and the small child waiting in the car had caught Alexander's attention. Curious, he had watched the entire scene unfold. When Marcus drove away, Alexander went down to retrieve the note before the rain destroyed it completely. That night, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed in their one-bedroom apartment, his phone rang with an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, fearing it was another debt collector. But something made him pick up. "Is this the man who left a note on a Tesla today?" a deep voice asked. Marcus's stomach clenched. "Yes, sir. I'm so sorry about the damage. I can't pay for it all at once, but I can set up a payment plan." "That won't be necessary," the voice interrupted. "My name is Alexander Chen. The car belongs to my company. I saw what happened." Marcus closed his eyes, waiting for the anger, the threats of legal action. Instead, what came next left him speechless. "I'd like to meet with you tomorrow, if possible. There's something I want to discuss." The following day, Marcus arranged for a neighbor to watch Emma after school and took 3 buses to reach the Gleaming Horizon Innovations headquarters downtown. He felt painfully out of place in his worn clothes among the sleek, well-dressed professionals hurrying through the lobby. The receptionist, surprisingly, was expecting him. "Mr. Chen is waiting for you," she said with a smile, leading him to a private elevator. Alexander Chen wasn't what Marcus had expected. Despite his immense wealth, he wore a simple button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up and greeted Marcus with a warm handshake. "Thank you for coming," Alexander said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. "I'll get straight to the point. I was impressed by your honesty yesterday. Not many people would leave a note in that situation." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. It was the right thing to do. "Yes, it was. And that's exactly why I wanted to meet you." Alexander leaned forward. "I've been looking for someone with integrity to head our new community outreach program. The position requires someone who understands struggle firsthand but hasn't let it compromise their values. Someone exactly like you." Marcus stared in disbelief. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but I don't have the qualifications for a corporate position. I haven't even finished my degree." Alexander smiled. "Education can be completed. Character is built over a lifetime. I've done my research on you, Marcus. You were an accounting student before your wife's illness. You have experience that textbooks can't teach." By the end of the meeting, Marcus had been offered a position with a salary that would change everything for him and Emma, enough to move to a safer neighborhood, to get her the medical care she needed, to finally breathe again. But Alexander wasn't finished. "One more thing," he said as Marcus was leaving. "The company has an educational assistance program. You can finish your degree while working for us." That night, as Marcus told Emma they would be moving to a new apartment, one with her own bedroom, he couldn't hold back his tears. "Things are going to get better now, sweetheart," he promised, holding her close. "Because you did the right thing, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes wide with the simple wisdom of children. "Yes," he whispered. "Because sometimes the universe notices." Over the next year, Marcus thrived at Horizon Innovations. The community outreach program he developed helped families facing medical crises, inspired by his own experience. He finished his accounting degree and was promoted to a senior position within the company. Emma's health improved in their new environment. She made friends at her new school and joined a children's choir, her voice as clear and hopeful as her future now seemed. Alexander became more than an employer, he became a mentor and friend. One evening, as they worked late on a new initiative, Alexander finally told Marcus something he'd been keeping to himself. "I never told you why your note affected me so deeply," he said quietly. 25 years ago, I was in your position, broke, desperate, a single father trying to make it. I made a mistake that cost someone money, and I ran from it because I was scared. That decision haunted me for years." He looked out at the city lights. "When I saw you write that note, standing in the rain with your little girl watching, I saw the man I wished I had been. You reminded me that integrity isn't a luxury for those who can afford it, it's most valuable when it costs you something." 2 years after that rainy day in the parking lot, Marcus stood on a stage at the annual Horizon Innovations Charity Gala, accepting an award for the program he had built from nothing. In the audience, Emma sat beside Alexander, applauding wildly for her father. "Sometimes life breaks us," Marcus said into the microphone, his voice steady despite the emotion behind his words. "And sometimes, in our most broken moments, when we choose to do the right thing anyway, life surprises us with second chances." He looked directly at Alexander. "A scratch on a car changed my life not because of luck, but because someone was watching who recognized the value of character over circumstance. Today, through our program, we've helped over 200 families facing medical crises keep their homes and their dignity. We've turned one moment of honesty into a movement of hope." As the audience rose in a standing ovation, Marcus thought about the man he had been that rainy day, soaked, scared, and certain that his life would never improve. He wished he could tell that version of himself that sometimes the darkest moments come just before dawn breaks. And sometimes, when you think no one is watching you struggle, the right person is seeing everything. That night, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed in their comfortable home, she asked him a question that stopped him in his tracks. "Daddy, do you think Mommy can see us now? Do you think she knows we're okay?" Marcus sat on the edge of her bed, gently brushing her hair back from her forehead. "I think she's been watching over us the whole time, sweetheart. I think maybe she even sent Mr. Chen to help us." Emma smiled, satisfied with this answer, and drifted off to sleep. Standing in the doorway, looking at his daughter's peaceful face, Marcus realized that the true wealth in his life had nothing to do with his improved financial situation. It was in the values he had managed to maintain even when they were all he had left. It was in the knowledge that he had shown Emma, through his actions rather than just words, what it meant to live with integrity. And perhaps most importantly, it was in the understanding that sometimes our smallest decisions, the ones we make when we think no one is looking, are the ones that reveal who we truly are and shape who we will become. 10 years later, Emma Walsh stood at the podium of her high school graduation as valedictorian. Her father sat in the front row, tears of pride streaming down his face. Beside him was Alexander Chen, now in his mid-50s but still as sharp and kind as ever. "My father taught me that integrity isn't just a word, it's a choice we make every day," Emma said, her voice carrying across the auditorium. "When I was 6 years old, I watched him make a choice that seemed small at the time, but it changed the course of our lives forever." She looked directly at Marcus. "Dad, you showed me that even when life seems unfair, even when we're at our lowest point, how we respond to those moments defines who we are. You could have driven away from that scratched car, and no one would have blamed you. But you stayed. You took responsibility. And in doing so, you taught me the most important lesson of my life." After the ceremony, as they celebrated at a restaurant Alexander had reserved for the occasion, Emma presented her father with an envelope. Inside was her acceptance letter to Harvard Business School, with a full scholarship. "I want to build something like Mr. Chen did," she told her father. "Something that helps people who are where we once were." Alexander raised his glass in a toast. "To the future CEO of the next great humanitarian enterprise," he said, smiling at Emma. And to her father, who taught her that the foundation of any successful venture is character. Marcus could barely speak through his emotion. From the brink of despair to this moment, all because he had chosen to do the right thing on a rainy day when he thought no one was watching. That night, after Emma had gone to celebrate with her friends, Marcus sat alone on his balcony, looking up at the stars. He thought about his late wife, about how proud she would be of their daughter. He thought about the strange, winding path his life had taken. "I kept my promise," he whispered to the night sky. "I raised her right. I showed her what matters." And somewhere in the universe, he felt certain, someone was watching. Someone had always been watching. The next morning, Marcus received a call from Alexander. "I've been thinking," the older man said. "It's time for me to step back from day-to-day operations at Horizon. The board and I agree, you're ready to take over as CEO." Marcus was speechless. From a desperate single father leaving a note on a scratched car to the chief executive of a billion-dollar company, the journey seemed impossible. "Why me?" he finally managed to ask. Alexander's answer was simple, "Because you understand what this company is really about. It's not just making money, it's making a difference. It's seeing people when they think they're invisible. It's recognizing value where others see only cost." 5 years into Marcus's tenure as CEO, Horizon Innovations became known not just for its technological advancements but for its revolutionary approach to corporate responsibility. The company established a foundation that provided interest-free loans to single parents facing medical crises. They created scholarship programs for children who had lost parents to illness. They built affordable housing in neighborhoods that needed revitalization. And in the lobby of their headquarters stood a simple glass case. Inside was a framed, water-stained note written on a crumpled receipt: "I accidentally scratched your car. I can't afford to pay for repairs right now, but I promise I will. Here's my number. I'm so sorry." Below it, a small plaque read, "The moment that changed everything." A reminder that character is revealed in our smallest decisions. Emma eventually joined the company after completing her MBA, bringing fresh ideas and the same unwavering integrity her father had demonstrated that rainy day. Together, they expanded Horizon's impact globally, touching millions of lives. On the 20th anniversary of that fateful day in the parking lot, Marcus stood before thousands of employees at the company's annual meeting. Now in his 50s, with streaks of gray in his hair, he still carried himself with the humble gratitude of someone who remembered what it was like to have nothing. 20 years ago, I made a mistake," he began. "I scratched a car I couldn't afford to fix. But the real story isn't about the scratch, it's about what happened next. It's about a man who saw value in me when I couldn't see it in myself. It's about second chances and the ripple effects of kindness." He gestured to Alexander, now in his 70s, sitting in the front row. "This man taught me that true leadership isn't about power or profit, it's about seeing potential in unexpected places. It's about understanding that sometimes, the person who seems most broken is actually the one with the most to give." Alexander stood, embracing Marcus as the crowd erupted in applause. Two men from different worlds, connected by a moment of honesty in a rainy parking lot. As the applause died down, Marcus concluded with the words that had become the company's unofficial motto: "Remember, someone is always watching. Not to catch you doing something wrong, but to recognize when you're doing something right, even when it costs you everything." That night, as Marcus drove home, he passed through the old neighborhood where he and Emma had lived during those desperate days. The warehouse where he had once worked was now a community center funded by Horizon Innovations. The rundown apartment building had been renovated into safe, affordable housing for families in need. He pulled over, overwhelmed by the journey his life had taken. From this street corner where he had once waited for buses in the rain to the executive parking space with his name on it. From wondering how he would afford his daughter's cough medicine to establishing healthcare programs that serve thousands. All because he had left a note on a scratched car. All because someone had been watching. And in that moment, Marcus Walsh understood the most profound truth of his extraordinary journey: we never know who is watching our moments of integrity. We never know how our smallest decisions might open doors we cannot yet imagine. We never know how our darkest moments might lead to our greatest purpose. Sometimes, the universe notices. And sometimes, it responds in ways we could never predict. If you found meaning in this story, please like and subscribe. Remember that your acts of honesty and kindness, no matter how small they seem, might be changing someone's life in ways you'll never know. Because someone is always watching, and sometimes, that someone has the power to transform your world.